somehow ended up being the filing officer or filing official. And you might be saying, what does this all mean? Why, do I have enough background? Why do I do what I do? Why do we do what we do as it relates to the collection of Form 700s? Okay. So you might be out there asking again, what are your responsibilities? We want to go ahead and try to elaborate on what those are during this webinar. We also want to go ahead and tell you what tools the Conflict of Interest Lobbyist Division, which is my division, are providing you to help you achieve the duties and responsibilities and carry those out efficiently. And then you might be asking what essential knowledge you need to have in order to do your duties correctly. Okay. Now, I know you probably all might have questions, and the questions are going to be welcomed, but we're going to try to keep those to the end, unless you have a specific question, again, that you think you need to get out at a certain time. I'll welcome that as well. But towards the end, we'll try to cover all the questions, since there's a number of people that are attending this. Okay. All right. So again, what we're also going to offer you, Panik, you can just go back again one more time to this time. What we're also going to offer you is, at the end of this too, we're going to supply you a new handbook, okay, that goes over all this as well, okay. But in order for you to understand how the handbook plays in, again, this is why this webinar is being conducted, okay. Now, all of you are not all the agencies and departments which my division handle. Okay, you've all been separated into a group called the county family, okay? Because you all relate to either coming from a county department or representing the county commission, okay? With that, this seminar, this webinar is designed tailored to you, okay? So that you get the knowledge in relationship to how you as county people in this process need to conduct your responsibilities, okay? And what we hope to do is to give you an overview of the entire process, okay? Now with that, Panik, we can go to the next slide. Okay. Now, so the big thing that all of you should keep in the back of your mind, again, is that, okay, why do we do what we do? Okay, well, it's because, there's the Political Reform Act. The Political Reform Act is the government code that establishes certain responsibilities of county officials as it relates to the collection of Form 700. Okay, as it relates to, there's a couple things the Political Reform Act does. It governs the campaign related endeavors. It governs conflicts of interest as it relates to public officials and what they need to report as well. So the background of why you do what you do is because of the Political Reform Act. Now, who oversees the Political Reform Act is the Fair Political Practices Commission, okay, the FPPC. You will see that mentioned sometimes in correspondence we send to you, or from, again, who designs the form. Okay, so again, the state regulatory agency that oversees the Political Reform Act and is the FPPC, the Fair Political Practices Commission. Now, within the Political Reform Act, okay, there's a couple things. Okay, let's go through those. It's all included within the Political Reform Act is the purpose of conflict of interest laws. And again, the purpose of conflict of interest laws is to prohibit public employees and officials. Okay, so public employees and officials, because sometimes, you're not just dealing with the employees within your departments or your commissions, you're dealing with officials. And they might say, well, I'm not an employee. But under the Political Reform Act, if they're captured within a conflict of interest code, they are considered public officials that fall under that umbrella of needing to do certain things. Okay, so the purpose of conflict of interest laws is to prohibit public employees, officials from personally benefiting at the expense of the public interest. And in 1974, the voters of the state of California approved Proposition 9, which is the Political Reform Act of 1974. Okay, the Political Reform Act covers numerous topics related to the ethical conduct of public officials and prohibits conflicts of interest in making of governmental decisions. the Act is also the authority for the establishment of conflict of interest codes. And again, that's where we're going to come in. Okay. One aim of the Act was to cause the disclosure of financial interests of public officials that might be materially affected by their official duties. Okay. So again, what we're trying to do is make sure that public officials report so that when they're making governmental decisions, their personal financial interests are not coming into play. That there's a mechanism to be able to see, yes, this is getting first the appearance that there might be a conflict, and second, yeah, this is probably a conflict, and they shouldn't probably be making a decision related to something that, again, that they have a personal financial economic interest involved with. Okay, and as you will see, okay, when we get to a person reporting their personal economic interest, okay, there's going to be certain schedules. Okay, there's going to be schedules A1 through there's A1, there's A2, and we're going to go through all of those. Each one of those are looking to try to capture what the 5 economic interests that potentially could make a person have a foreseeable conflict where, again, they would need to step away from that decision or governmental decision or county decision that they're going to be involved with. Okay, and in our handbook, again, we're going to go into more detail with that. Okay, but what those 5 economic interests are and what the schedules hope to obtain from collecting data on those schedules are: 1, business investments. Okay, and that's again where stocks and stuff. And again, we'll see it when we go to the form. Real property is another one. Okay, income, business positions, and gifts. Those are all the 5 economic interests. Again, business investments, real property, income, business positions, and gift. Okay, those are 5 economic interests that, again, the Political Reform Act tries to see if there's uses as a way to determine that there potentially could be a conflict. Okay, and then if when one gets to that level of, yes, there appears to be a conflict, okay, then there's a provision that says disqualification is required. Okay, and then that sometimes can entail, that one of the commissioners that might be involved in a decision or something is rising to the level of having a conflict, or maybe an employee is rising to the level they need to step away from that decision. And there's a process for, again, a legislative body such as a commissioner or a governing body to have to recuse themselves from their participation with that. And I won't go into all the detail in that, but you will find it in our handbook that covers that. Okay. But when it gets to that, the strong suggestion is, don't take these actions on your own. Make sure that you're going up the chain. That we stress that you should be working with your county council representatives to advise you. Okay. Okay, Panik, if we can go on to the next slide. Now, before we get into the form itself and the collection of that, okay, you need to know how we get to, okay, what makes a person have to file. Okay, and again, that comes down to a conflict of interest code. If a person or, again, a public employee, public official is captured within the body of a position within the code, okay, that's going to require them to make Form 700 disclosure. Okay, now there's also other people that might be outside of the code that are not captured that will also be required to make disclosure, but we will go to that. So Panik, if you can open up the assessor's code. Okay, where Panik is right now, he's landed on what's called our portal to, our Form 700 electronic system portal, where people go to do filings. Okay, now this is also where you will find useful information that benefits you as a filing officer, okay, or as a filing official. Okay, Panik's kind of scrolling through the 3rd tab, okay, showing you that that's where you will find those resources. Okay, now if Panik can open the conflict of interest codes, okay. Now what Panik did was he hit the button to open the codes, and you will find within there, okay, all the conflict of interest codes for all the public agencies where the Board of Supervisors is the code reviewing body that And again, that means the County of Los Angeles and the Board of Supervisors is responsible for the collection of Form 700s and the establishment of conflict of interest codes for all public agencies within the jurisdiction of Los Angeles County. So that's all water districts, school districts, joint powers authorities, county departments, charter schools. Okay, you will see those entities contained in that area that Ponic opened. Now, what you will see also though is at the top you will see select the filing period. Okay, and you will see that we archive all the codes here. Okay, now that's important because you might need to look back in time to see what were the requirements for certain positions. Now, say that you discover that somebody holds a position in your present code, okay, that started a couple years ago. Okay, well, before you say that that person should make disclosure, you should look at the time period when that occurred. Because, okay, so Ponic, if you can open up like maybe 2016, 2017 and go to the assessor's code, okay, and open their code. Now, if you drop to the bottom of each of these codes, okay, you will see the effective date of when the Board of Supervisors put this into effect, or it was adopted by the board and went into effect. So when Ponic opened that prompt from a couple years ago, you will see that the code that was in place at that time was the one that was adopted on May 31st, 2017. Now, Ponic, if you can get out of that and go to the present code. So Ponic's going to change the dropdown and go into the present year. It's going to open the present code. And the reason I selected the assessor's office is because, again, they're on top of their game. Okay, they went ahead and recently updated their code, put in new positions, and they have a fairly current code. It was adopted August 29, 2021. Okay, so here they have other positions that might not be found in that earlier code. Again, that's key to you because, again, you only want to make people make disclosure that are required to make disclosure. A person that was not in the code at a certain time wasn't required to make disclosure and is only required to make disclosure when their position is placed within a code. So if we can, Ponic, if we can go to the front of the assessor's code. And again, forgive me if this is all stuff that you already know, but I'm going to cover it all so that all of you understand what's in a code and why it's important to again, why certain things are there so that you understand that. Okay, so this first paragraph within the assessor's code, and again within all the codes that the Board of Supervisors adopts, because the Board of Supervisors adopts a model so that they're all pretty much similar. Okay, this first paragraph within a code is called what's called the Incorporation Page. Okay, and this is incorporating by reference the laws that govern the Form 700 collection and the deadlines and dates and all of that associated with the collection of Form 700s and the adoption of the code. This first paragraph is saying that your agency, your department, your commission is putting, adopting by incorporation and reference these laws, that you're always going to be current with them. Okay, that's what this first paragraph does. It says you will always be current with them because you're following 18730. Okay. Now the second paragraph, Ponic, if we can get to this part, is important because this is the part that's going to distinguish between what makes you a filing officer and what makes you a filing official. Okay. So what this code is saying, again, and your codes will basically do the same, is saying that the agency shall make and retain a copy of all statements filed by the assessor and forward the originals of such statements to the executive officer. Now, that means the assessor is going to be a position that we call an EO filer, an executive office filer. Okay, he or she, this being a he, but who the assessor is right now, is someone at a position at a level that we require that they submit the originals to us. That makes us the filing officer and makes you the filing official. Now, the third paragraph is saying the agency shall retain the originals of all statements for all other designated positions named in the Conflict of Interest Code. Okay, that paragraph is now saying that you're the filing officer for all those other positions that are captured within this code. Okay, making you, again, the responsible person for that, giving you the authority to issue fines or not issue fines, okay, based on them filing late on their statements. Okay, so that gives you that. Okay, so that is what distinguishes it. So you can look at that within your code, and somebody says, well, why do you have the authority? You have the authority because of that third paragraph. Okay, if we can move on to the next. Now, what this second page does within a code, it says what the disclosure categories are, okay? And every code's going to have various different disclosure categories because, again, every position is different. And what we try to do when we develop a code is we're going to we work with your departments in an interactive process to make sure that we fit the proper disclosure to the duties and responsibilities of the positions that are going to be captured. Okay, so not everyone is going to have the same. Okay, now this particular one has, let's see, 5 disclosure categories, and those, again, are the first category deals with real property, the second category deals with investments in business positions, the third category deals with income in business positions, the fourth category is not as broad as the other ones above it. It is specific and limited to, a designated position assigned to this disclosure category. So this is kind of like for maybe for people that don't have a broad range of responsibilities and duties that are specific. They're in your IT section, or they're doing something in a certain area, and they're not involved in the total workings of your commission or your department. Okay, so 4 is a lesser disclosure than 1, 2, and 3. Now, category 5 in this one is a category that's designed specifically for people that might be in an HR section, okay, and because those have different responsibilities, they're not dealing with normally with something like in category 4 that's going to be bought or sold as a supplier service, okay. They're dealing with issues related to employees and those and employees and the functioning of the HR realm. Okay, so that's what those disclosure categories do. And then if in giving you a broader understanding, if any of you were to have questions on your specific codes and what those disclosure categories mean for you specifically, after you pull up your code and get them and you have some questions, you can always call us and we'll explain those categories to you so you can understand what they're meant to do. Okay, and then when we work with you, when you do your biannuals reviews to change your codes, we will help you as well. Okay. Now, well, Panik, if you can get back to the positions real quick. Okay. Now, the final thing that's within a conflict of interest code are those positions that need to be that are captured within a code that will in turn require the filing of a Form 700. Okay, and as you see, each one has a different associated disclosure category. The Administrative Services Manager 2, Management Services has categories 1, 2, and 3, which is fairly very, that's as broad as you can get. Okay, now if you scroll through them again, you'll see that they're somewhat different. Now, at the end of a code, okay, you'll find a footnote, a consultant's new positions footnote. Okay, what that footnote does, okay, it gives you authority to capture positions that you believe, okay, or again, gives your department, your commission, and within it, the person, again, this says the assessor or his or her designee may determine. Okay, so that means you could say, hey, we just created a brand new position. It's going to have all kinds of authority. It's going to be doing this and this and this, and again, doing things related to this and this means that somehow there's a nexus to an economic interest and a governmental decision being made that will impact the financial interest. Okay, so if you find that in positions that are not captured in your code, okay, you have the authority to be able to make that person make disclosure. Okay, you can do that, okay, without having them captured within the code, but there's a process with that. And when we get to the end of this presentation, there's a certain form you're going to use to do that. Okay, and again, this could be for those kinds of positions, or you could be, again, for the consultants where you're hiring someone to come in and provide some type of analysis that's going to lead to a decision being made that impacts a financial interest. Okay, they're going to do an investigation analysis or something that you believe that person that you're hiring or company that you're hiring that they should be making disclosure as well. Okay, so that gives you the authority without having to say, hey, you're not that, you need to come back to us to be put in the code. No, you can capture positions as well. Okay, and again, there's a process for that, and we will work with you individually when that happens if you need that. But keep in mind that you do have that authority. Okay. Now, Panik, if we can get back out of that. Okay. So again, what we've done is we've covered the code, told you the difference as to how you determine whether you're a filing officer and filing official. And again, what's key there is how we classify those for us. Okay. EO filer means, again, that we're the filing officer. Okay. An internal filer means that you're the filing officer. Okay. You become the filing official when we're the filing officer. Okay. You have responsibilities that allow you to find people when you are the filing officer, not the filing official. Okay. And when we talked about the various disclosure categories and what makes them different. Okay. So again, the code is placed there so that there's a legitimate purpose, a legal binding purpose why people need to make disclosure. Their position is found within a conflict of interest code. Okay. Now, anybody that might say, hey, why am I in a code? Okay. They're in there because there was an analysis done that said that they do certain duties and responsibilities that require them to make disclosure. And when those people were to say, what were those? We can always look back in our historical records and find what you told us, departments, commissions, were those responsibilities, so we can explain that to them. Okay, so that no one's placed in the code unless it's been thoroughly vetted that they are a person making or potentially recommending the making of a governmental decision that will impact a financial interest. Okay, Panik, if we can go to the next slide. Okay, what I want to do here briefly is kind of want to show you now the form. Okay, so Panik, if you can open the link to the form. Okay. Okay, again, earlier I told you that the Fair Political Practices Commission, the FPPC, is the state authority that governs the Political Reform Act and oversees it. Okay, now this website is, again, since they oversee it, they're the ones that create the Form 700. Okay, now we participate in seeing if there's anything that needs to change in the form, and there's a process to give our input. So if you were to ever think of something that would make the form easier, you can always pass that on to us, and so that we could try to see if the FPPC will take our suggestions. Okay, so I know there's a lot of bright minds out there that could probably come up with things that make this form easier, because I know I hear a lot of comments that the form is a little too complicated. So if we could think of a way to make it easier, I'm always welcome to try to pass those along. Okay, now Panik went to this resource page. Again, in the handbook we're going to give you, it's going to have links to these things as well so that you can find them. Okay, so Panik, if you can maybe scroll through the page, and again, you're going to see within it, okay, you're going to see Form 700. All forms are ADA compliant. Okay, it says there's a form to be used between now and December 31st, 2021. Now, every form it looks the same, but every year the form is somewhat different. Okay, there could have been some suggestions made. The legislature could have changed some things that are now going to be captured in the revised edition. Okay, so the one being used right now is good until December 31st. Okay, now there will be one that comes out for 2022. Okay, and that's not yet out yet. Okay. Now, as you scroll down, you'll also see there's amendment schedules, and these are all, where you would be able to use them for those people that don't want to file electronically using our electronic system, that want to file paper copies. Okay, this is the forms fillable paper copy. Okay, place to find them. Okay, now as you come down some more, Panik, you will keep coming down a little more. You will see prior year forms, okay, like 2019, 2020, 2018, 2019. Again, each of these are good till December 31st of the year in question, okay? And so if you had to capture somebody who filed who needed to file a couple years ago, and you need to give them a form, you're not going to give them this year's form. You're going to give them the form that applied during that period of time, okay? Now, Panik, if we can go back to this year's form, the one that's in use right now. Okay, let's just pop that open real quick. All right. So let's get to the cover page. Okay, now being a good filing officer, you should probably every time the form comes out, you should probably make sure that you read, the instructions and the narrative that follows before the places where you fill out stuff, because you will see that things might have changed. Okay, again, the gift limit during this period of time became 520. Okay, that gift limit can change based on the consumer price index. Okay, so maybe next year's form might say something different. Okay, all right. So keep in mind that that's a good resource for you to familiar yourself with as well. Is what leads up to the form. Okay, now, looking at this is a form 700. This is a cover. Okay, now when you use the electronic system, all the generic stuff is already captured. Okay, so the name of the filer, the agency, the position, the jurisdiction, the type of form that's being used, because again, the forms are used for different versions. Okay, like and that's found in type of statement category 3 there. Okay, you see that there's an annual. Okay, you see there's an assuming. You see that there's a leaving office, and you see that there's a candidate. Okay, the candidate part, you need to know that this is used for a candidate. Okay, but we're not responsible for the collection of candidate statements. Those are done by the Register Recorder's Office when somebody is running for the office. Okay, now the ones that we are responsible for is the annual, assuming, and leaving. Okay, now the biggest mistakes people make when they fill this out by paper is they don't complete those other little boxes that are associated with it, like the one that says the period covered is through December 31st, or the date assumed is, or the leaving date of, and then the little circles that fall underneath those. All those are important because all of those cover different periods of time that make this form usable for that person. Okay, so like if a person assumed office, and again, assumes means when they started. If they start, say October the 2nd, okay. When they start at that period of time, okay, because it's so close to the end of the year, in the coming year, they're not going to have to file an annual, okay. They're only going to have to file an annual in the year that follows after that. So a person that assumed October 1st through December 31st, okay, will not have to file an annual. They'll have filed the assuming. They'll file the next annual in 2023. So if the same person who started on October the 2nd, 2021, okay, when we get to 2023, when they do their annual, the period covered is going to say 10 to 2021, okay, and then the form will be changed when we get to 2023, and it will say December 31st, 2022, okay. So, and again, if you're using our electronic system, all those dates that are relevant are going to be pre-populated. So when a person tells you that, they get into the system and they can't change, their name, they can't change their jurisdiction, they can't change the type of statement, that's because we already know what those are, okay. We can pre-populate that. Okay, with the information that's coming from you. They don't need to do that. Okay, it's typical that we will see more mistakes if we allowed them to change some of those boxes. But on paper, again, they need to be able to put the correct dates in. Okay, and vice versa on the leaving office stuff. Okay, if we can move over there. Okay, if a person leaves, say they left today, December 1st, 2021. Okay. Okay, that person needs to check either the first circle or the second one. Okay, now we would want them to check the first one. Okay, the period covered is January 1st, 2020 through the date of leaving office. And what I said that was wrong. Okay, we wouldn't want them to check that. Okay, because what they're trying to report is a period that they haven't reported already. Okay, so that was kind of a quick question, a trick question there. Okay, they will need to put in the period covered is 1/1/2021 through the date of leaving office. covering the period of time from the last time they reported. And if they did an annual the last time they reported, they covered all the way through December 31st, 2020, and their first date of reporting would have been January 1st, 2021. That's not been reported yet. Okay, so those periods are again are crucial to making sure the person is disclosing during the proper period of time. And again, I know I've repeated this already a couple times. If they use our system, those dates will be put in correctly. Okay. Now, when we get to reviewing the form, we're going to go over some stuff there as well. Okay. Now, your schedules. Okay. The score, again, the schedules that they fill out should be the schedules that they've attached. Okay. If they're not putting anything on those schedules, and not reporting that they have any economic interest, they're going to hit the none buttons. Okay. Now, Panik, if you just go through the schedules real quick, and again, you will see that there's a schedule A1, okay, and it's stocks, bonds, and other investments where a person holds less than 10% interest. Okay, if we can go to A2, Panik. A2 is for investments, income, and assets of business entities and trusts where a person owns a greater percentage of 10%. Again, this is a co-owner, someone that is the a partner that has more than 50%. Again, this is looking at more than 10. Okay. All right, Panik. Schedule B. Okay. Schedule B is real property. Okay. Remember, not everybody has the same level of disclosure, but when they do have a real property disclosure, and again, that's typically in a conflict of interest code, is going to be if they have category 1. Okay, they would have to have the requirement of having to report real property. Okay. So next schedule, Panik. Okay. Schedule C is income, loans, and business position. Again, when a person's reporting, keep in mind, they're not just reporting for themselves. They're also reporting for their spouse, domestic partner, okay, registered domestic partner, okay. Those incomes are also part of this that are going to report it. And again, when you read through the instructions and stuff, you'll see that how you determine what those are. Okay. Okay. Schedule D. Okay. D is gifts. Okay. And that question that we talked about okay, if you win the $25 gift or the $15 or the $10 gift, okay. Now, gifts only need to be reported if the gift is $50 or more. Okay, so if you win all three, okay, you do have a requirement. Okay, and if you have a requirement if within the category you're associated with says that any source is reportable. Okay, so the question is, okay, will the COI division be a source that's reportable or not? Okay. Okay. Now, if you only if you were to get a $25 gift, that's not something that's reportable. Okay, you would need to have a cumulative value of 50 in order to make it reportable. Schedule E. Okay, E is for when people take travel. Okay, so travel payments, advances, and reimbursements. Okay, and travel questions are you might get travel questions. Okay, those are fairly complex in being able to determine how to advise a person on that. What you want to do is make sure you give them the proper resources. There's a pamphlet. Panik, if you can go out of this, because these are all the schedules, and there's a pamphlet that deals with travel requirements and travel payments and stuff like that. Okay. You also, again, here, this is an area where, again, if your chief deputy or somebody above you is asking for advice on travel, you should always seek, again, this might be where you, again, want to reach out to county council to help with that determination if it's reportable. And usually when a person's going to before they take the travel, if it's from a source that they think that might be an issue, that they should be reaching out there before they take that travel. Okay. Okay, and I think Panik's actually showing you that there's different definitions and stuff, but there is a pamphlet that deals with travel and honorariums and the such. Okay. And then that's over there on that other sheet that says gifts to the right, Panik. Gifts and travel and fact sheets, okay, for local officials. That's where you would want to see that, okay? And Panik's actually showing you what that one is, okay? So again, okay, the form has various schedules. Not everybody's going to use every schedule. The schedules are completed based on what they need to report and what was received during the reporting period. Okay, now what also needs to be done is a person needs to say a person completes their form and determines that they left something out, okay, and they want to amend it, okay. Now that page that Panic led you to first will have amendment schedules that a person would fill out if they wanted to do it by paper. Now, again, Panic's showing you where those amendment schedules are. Okay. Now, if a person files electronically, okay, they can file an amendment electronically. That will be an option, and they can complete it. The only time that they are not able to use the electronic system to file an amendment is if they sit on multiple positions. Okay, that again, it could be a commissioner that sits on a couple different commissions. Somebody who has expanded filing will not be able to use our system to complete amendment schedules because we don't know, the system's not sophisticated enough to say, okay, are you changing it for all of them? You're only changing it for one of them. Okay, so for that, again, for filing amendments where somebody sits as an expanded filer, they have to file by paper. Okay. And again, remember the form itself can be used for 3 different things. Okay, that we are involved with: annuals, assumings, and leavings. Okay, it can be filed for a 4th thing, again, which is candidate statements, but again, we're not responsible for the collection of candidate statements. Okay. Now, since Form 700 itself is a big thing, are there any questions on the form itself right now? And Panik, if you can tell me who has a question, because I do see a hand up. Are there any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, just to confirm, so if somebody wants to submit it, paper through, paper-wise, I find the form in that amendment that was shown in, right before this PowerPoint presentation, right where you were right before this, correct?
Okay. So say the question one more time. They want to
So
file. They want to file by paper, and they want to file the form itself, or they want to file an amendment by paper.
they want to file the form itself by paper. I just want to confirm where to find it because I know at least for LACMA somebody will be doing that.
Yeah. You'd find it. You would find it right where Panik was right now. Okay. And again, you'll find the link right there where it says Form 700. You'll find it there. Now, what you'll get from us though, okay, is, and I will cover it when you get it. Okay, during February, we will send you the new form. Okay, so you can by email. Okay, we'll tell you what your duties are and what the duties are, and how we're proceeding in the coming year. And in that, it's called the filing officer package email. Okay, you'll get the form to be used. Okay, but again, say that you got somebody who wants to file January 1st, 2022. Okay. We're not going to send you everything until February. Okay. But you would be able to go to this website. Okay. Find the form that's going to be in use January 1st, 2022, and give them the form. Okay. It's better to see if they will wait to file electronically, because electronically does a lot of different things that again, you'll see as we talk about the Eros and what happens. But if they wanted to file by paper and they're insistent to file by paper, yes, that's where you would find it. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Were there any other questions on the Form 700?
I think that was it, Don.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So Panika, we can go into the next one. Okay. So now we get to consequences of not filing a Form 700. Okay. Now, remember we talked about that you're filing official or you're filing officer. Okay. When you're the filing officer, and again for county departments, and that's going to be for almost all your designated positions other than your department head. Okay. You're going to have the ability to issue a fine. Okay. Now, the fines, okay, that and the provision regarding fines that is in the Political Reform Act says that a form that's filed after the deadline, okay, 1 day late is $10, okay, and it goes up to $100, okay, and then the fine will always be $100, okay. Now, when somebody fails to file a form completely, though, okay, then there's other stuff that will happen. Okay, so if a person files a form late, it's 1 day late. Okay, you do have the authority to charge a person, $10. Okay, now you should have in place your own fine policy. Now, like for us, again, we will say our fine policy says that we're going to first, we know people are going to be late. Okay, we're going to send them emails and the such. Okay, but then when we actually issue out our letters, okay, that are going to them, okay, physical letter, okay, and we're going to send them two. When we get to sending them that second one, that's when our fine policy kicks in and saying, no, we're going to say you owe us $100 now. Okay, so you need to have a process in place for this. Okay, and again, it could be the same, the same that we do. Okay, yes, the deadline was April the 1st, and you sent it in April 2nd, but we haven't sent you any overdue notices. Okay, you don't get a fine. Okay, but that's for you to decide because you're the filing officer for your own employees. Okay, now again, we hope that you coordinate this with those above you and reach out to your county council to make sure that's what you want to be doing. Okay. Now, other things could happen. So again, remember, so $10 per day for up to 10 days for $100. Everything after that will remain at $100 until the form is filed. Now, if someone fails to file that and ends up having to go to enforcement, okay, enforcement would mean, well, for us, it would mean that we would send an enforcement referral to the FPPC, the Fair Political Practices Commission, okay, so that they can try to get that form filed. Okay, now they can charge up to $5,000 per violation, okay, for someone not filing. Okay, so there are consequences for not filing a form. Now, for a county employee, okay, there are also consequences related to, it could lead to dismissal. Okay, again, you're going to be following the civil service rules and regulations and procedures, but that could also be part of what happens for a county employee who fails to file. Okay, now when you talk about, hey, this person's not filing, and we've tried to get them to file, we sent them the notices, okay, then yes, you're going to probably want to see if you're going to send this person to enforcement. And again, we would suggest again that you reach out to your assigned county council, make sure that everyone's on board with what you're doing. Okay, but this does happen. We send people to enforcement, but it's after a long process of trying to make sure that they did get notice, they understood what they were supposed to be doing, and they're just not wanting to file. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, I do see a question.
Hi. So my question is, if we are fining the commissioners for filing late, when we collect that, where do we send those fines to?
Okay, so good question. Okay, but remember, okay, if you're talking about commissioners, okay, that's probably going to be where we get involved because it's probably going to say that at the level of a commissioner, they probably become our filer. Okay, we're the filing officer, you're the filing official. So we would conduct the enforcement procedures for anybody that the original should be housed with us. Okay,
and so that's going to be all commissioners.
Yeah, and that's typically all commissioners are ours. Okay.
Okay.
It's below the level of commissioner where you would be involved. But say that it's below the level and you have a couple other positions in your agency that are failing to file. Okay. So then repeat your question again. What was the question asked after the?
It was just if we're collecting fines telling them there's a $10 fine per day, and they're still they haven't done it, but they decided, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pay the $10 or by then $20, whatever. What do we do with that?
Okay. Yeah. So the check should be made out to the county of Los Angeles. Okay, and then it gets deposited into the general fund. Okay. That's what would happen. You can send it to your fiscal operation within your department. Okay, and it should be deposited into the general fund. Okay, but again, hopefully it doesn't get to that level where you really have to find somebody. But they should know that is a possibility. The goal of this is to get forms filed. It's a big process to try to get somebody to pay the fine and collect the fine and the rest of that. The goal is to get them to file the form, okay? But there is penalties for not filing it when people just want to disregard it, okay?
Okay.
Any other questions? And that was a good question. Thank you.
I think that was it, done.
Okay. All right. If we can now move on to duties of the filing officer. Okay. All right. So Panik, if you can pull up if you could pull up regulation 1A.
Actually,
One
Don,
fine.
there is one more question
Okay.
from Alex. Sorry.
Go ahead with your question.
Hi there. So I'm on this call on behalf of the Citizens Redistricting Commission,
Mm-hmm.
and it says, according to the statute that created the commission, the terms of the commissioners expire upon the appointment of the first members of the succeeding commission. So basically, 10 years from now is when the new commission is going to be appointed after the next census. So I'm wondering, do all of these commissions, even though they're not going to do anything after the maps are adopted December 15th of this year, do all these commissioners need to continue filing Form 700s every single year?
Okay, that's a very good question. Okay. If your present code remains in place the way it is, yes, that would mean that they're going to have to continue filing, okay, because there's a requirement to do that. Okay. So you might reach out to us to see about putting something within your code saying that when your commission is inactive, that there's no filing requirement for them. Okay. That probably isn't something we considered when we adopted your code. Okay, that there will be a process that it would go that long and there would be inactivity. Okay, but we do that for some agencies where, again, they might be an appeals board that doesn't have any appeals coming to them, and they haven't had them in 3 years, but they might all of a sudden get an appeal and have to file. So there's something we could put in your code that would say, after this date, you won't have to file until you reconstitute it again or something. Okay, but as it stands right now, yes, they will continue to file if the code has the language it has in it now.
Got it. Okay, so we'll have to amend our code then.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions?
That was it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now, let's get into the one of the big regulations that you should know that's out there. Okay. So when it says, hey, you have duties of the filing officer, and you could be saying, hey, Don's just telling me I have these duties. Okay. Well, I'm not the one telling you have these duties. It's the duties that you're assigned because you're assigned to being the filing officer. Okay. And that's going to be found under regulation 18115. Well, Panik, if you can open that regulation. And if you blow it up a little bit. Okay. Now, regulations are adopted by the Fair Political Practices Commission to make sure the Political Reform Act is carried forward. Okay, so that's what this is. Okay, this isn't the Political Reform Act. This is a regulation adopted by the Fair Political Practices Commission. Okay. And in it, you will see what we're talking about. Okay, that duties of a filing officers and filing officials. Okay, so this elaborates on what those duties are. Okay, and then you will see it like under 1, you say supply the necessary forms and manuals prescribed by the commission. Okay, 2, determine whether the proper statements have been filed and whether they conform on their face with the Act's requirements. Okay, this is where it gives you the responsibility of conducting an audit of 20% of the statements. Okay, and then later we'll talk about the audit. Okay, it's going to tell you what you need to do when you review the forms that are filed. How you review the summary pages and the schedules. Okay. Now, it's going to tell you about how you deal with stuff that are apparent violations. Okay, and again, when you're reviewing a form, and again, we're going to cover this a little bit more later. Okay, there's going to be stuff that looks wrong. Okay, but not everything leads to, hey, we need to send this person to enforcement, or leads to you even thinking about there needs to be an investigation. Okay, there's certain things that we'll talk about that will lead you there, but not this. But this is again the regulation that covers that. Okay. Now, what you'll see under what Panik is highlighting right now, under 5. Okay. Now, when we give you deadline dates to do stuff, and one of the big ones that's going to be coming up right now, okay, is going to be this December 15th deadline. Okay. You have a deadline, and the regulation says annually filing officers annually notify the filing officer of the names and positions of every person whose statements are required to be forwarded to the filing officer no later than December 15th. Okay, so this is where when we tell you to update your roster to make sure it's current, okay, that's where we get this December 15th date, okay, is that this regulation is saying you need to do that by that date, okay? That's the big deadline that's coming, okay? So regulation 18115 is a regulation that points to you saying, hey, this is your first deadline date, okay? Right, so again, this is for your reference so that you know that's where this is coming from, okay? That you need to supply the forms, you need to do the materials, okay? Now, so the big deadline date coming is December the 15th, and I don't, Punny, when do you think you're going to be getting out that email to everybody that says what they're going to need to do?
IRM should be finished with the template update, hopefully by the end of the day today. So if it's done, most likely tomorrow. If not, still by the end of this week.
So by the end of this week, you should be receiving the email that's going to give you instructions on what you need to do to update your roster. Okay. Now, other important dates that are going to happen. Okay, so we got that first one coming. That's December the 15th again. Okay, and then you also need to know that what you're going to get after that is you're going to have a deadline date in January where you need to do your rollover. Okay, and a rollover means that these are your roster is accurate, and now you want these people to carry forward to the coming year. Okay, so there's a process for that, and we'll talk about that when we get to the e-roster stuff as well. So you got important date December 15th. There's I think is it January 14th, Panik? Is that the rollover date?
Yes, that's correct. January 14th, Friday.
Okay. And then, okay, the other important date to remember, okay, is the second week of February. Okay, you will be receiving again the Form 700 and the instructions on how we're going to be handling the annual process coming. And again, you will see that around the second week of February. Now, okay, the other important date is April 1st. April 1st will be the date, and then Panik is showing you a sample of what you'll be receiving when you receive it in February. Okay, and again, so just to rehash the dates, December 15th is for you to complete your roster stuff. Okay, January 14th is when you need to do the rollover. Okay, what happens the second week of February is you will get that email, and it will give you instructions on the coming year, and you'll get your materials that you will need to pass to people that don't want to use the electronic system. Okay, so again, you need to supply the forms to people that need to file. When a person has an email address and they're in our roster system, that's done automatically by us. Okay, but for those people that don't have an email address, that don't want to file electronically, you're responsible for getting them a paper version, and with that paper version, supplying them their conflict of interest code so they understand what their disclosure requirements are. Okay. All right. So, any questions? And I think I see a hand.
Yeah, I think that's still Alex's hand, but I did want to just talk to you or bring up the roster changes for after December 15th, if you want to also cover that as well, Don.
Yeah. So roster. Okay. So again, you have a deadline date of December the 15th to bring your rosters current. And again, we're going to go through the roster, what the roster changes look like and stuff like that when we get to the e-roster system. Okay, but things will, you have a deadline date of December 15th, but the end of the year happens, December 31st. Okay, so there might be changes that occur after you've gone into the deadline date of December 15th and brought us current. You could have somebody who starts or leaves after December 15th and before December 31st. Okay. With those, again, what we would hope you would do is, because it's outside of that period already, we would hope that you would send us an email, okay, saying, hey, you have another change, okay, and we asked you to send us the email on that during that period of time, because our system again is transitioning, and we're going to be holding some stuff before we roll over the coming years to add people and take them out, okay. So after December 15th, through December 31st, again, you won't be able to use the roster system. We encourage you to send us an email. Okay. Panik, did I miss anything on that, or was that?
No, but all of that information will be in the annual roster update email that I'll be sending out in a couple of days. So we'll repeat that in there as well.
All right, and I think I see another hand now.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, just want to start off by saying, sorry about that. I came around 20 minutes late. I already know that you've covered this, but I just want to double check. So for example, LACMA, there'll be 3 officers or executives filing this Form 700. I give them the form and they will all be filing officials, not filing officers, correct? Because it's inside.
Okay, so this is LACMA, okay, and these are your governing board members or people not holding the role of a governing board member.
Governing board members.
Yeah, governing board members. Okay, that makes you the official. That makes us the officer, right? Because
Okay.
that they're at a level that distinguishes, again, on that cover page of your code, that they become our responsibility. Okay, now, so for those, again, if they supply you an email address, you don't need to worry about giving them the form unless they ask for a physical form. Because if they supply an email address, when we send out the notices that they need to file, they'll get an email that gives them credentials to get into our system to file electronically. Okay.
Got you.
Okay. So your big concern is trying to push everybody to give you an email address. Okay. If they give you an email address, then a lot of the work that you normally would do, like giving them a paper copy, giving them the code, okay, that falls to us doing it electronically. Okay, so we're your resource for that. Okay, all we're asking of you is give us a good email address. Okay.
Got you. Okay.
Okay, and the reverse happens when somebody's leaving. Okay, we can still try to pursue people if we have a good forwarding email address. So if a county employee leaves, okay, and they need to do their leaving office form, okay, you want them to try to file that, well, again, as quickly as they can after the date they've left. Okay, but say that they left and they haven't completed the form. Well, if we can't send to a bad email address, a county email address, after they've left, that gives you the responsibility to have to try to reach them. But if you can get a personal email address, okay, then we can send an electronic notice to them. Okay. Now, what's important for you to do too, and this is for everyone, okay, is, in order to do your roster stuff, okay, you need to know, which positions are coming and which positions, who's assumed a position, who's left a position. You want to open a channel to your HR sections, okay, for county departments that have a lot of employees that have to file. Okay, you need to be checking with them between now and December 15th to say, hey, these are the people that I need to collect Form 700s for. Did anybody, start that I don't have, already listed? Did anybody leave? Okay, that's what you're doing in your roster. You're opening that channel to your HR sections to find out, and perfect your roster of individuals. Okay, as for commissioners, you're not necessarily going through your HR section because you're overseeing your commissioners, but you want to make sure, again, that you have your accurate commissioners, that we're not sending to people that have already left, okay, and that we're not trying to play catch up with people that they've been here and we never told them to file. Okay, then it makes it harder for them because now they got to go back in time and try to figure out what they had a year ago or something, because we didn't capture them when they were supposed to. Okay, so it's good to, the regulations say that within 10 days of an event, you're supposed to be updating your rosters and keeping it current. Okay, we give you this December 15th date, but for those of you, and I know that there's a lot of you that you've been using your roster systems throughout the year, and when you get to this period of time, your roster's fine. Okay, you're just going to say everything's good already, but because you've kept them current, and that's a practice you want to try to follow. You want to try to follow keeping them current throughout the year, so that when you get to December 15th, you're not scrambling to try to make them good. Okay. Okay, I think, and there's no other questions. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay. All right. So now other duties. Okay. So of the filing officer. Okay. Record retention, public inspection, audit. Okay. Facial review and full review. Okay. Now, in the handbook we're going to give you, those are going to be covered under page 9 and page 10. Okay. Now, okay. For record retention. Okay, filing officers, officials are required to keep original hard copy and e-filed Form 700s for a minimum of 7 years. Okay, hard copy originals can be converted to an electronic format after 2 years from the date of receipt. Okay, electronic copies can be made available for the public for public inspection rather than original statements per Government Code Section 81009. Okay, so at the end of this, you're going to have links to the regulations that specify what the time periods for record retention are. So you're going to see that at the end, okay? But keep in mind, again, that it's 7 years, okay? So if you receive a paper copy of a form, okay, you need to keep that paper copy for a minimum of 2 years before you can convert it to electronic format for keeping it the remainder of those 5 years, okay, to get to the 7, okay? Okay, so everything's got to be kept by 7. Now, electronically, when a person's filing electronically, yeah, we're housing those for you for that period of time already. Okay. All right. Now, again, public inspection. Okay. Every statement filed pursuant to the Political Reform Act is a public record that is open for public inspection and reproduction during regular business hours, commencing as soon as practicable, but in any event, not later than the second business day following the day in which the request is received. Okay, so that means you need to always be able to retrieve these. No conditions may be imposed among persons desiring to inspect or reproduce statements, nor will any information or identification be required for such persons. Copies will be provided at a charge not to exceed 10 cents per page. Okay. Filing officers may charge a $5 retrieval fee for statements 5 years or more years old. A request for more than one statement at the same time shall be considered a single request. Again, that's under a government section 81008 that again you'll find at the end. So the big thing here to remember is this is when a person is asking for a copy of a Form 700, it's a little different than someone making a public records request. Okay, so it's covered under Government Code Section 81008 as opposed to the Public Records Act. Okay, and again, this says that you don't even, that person could ask for a thing and not even have to give you identification. Okay, that you want to make sure that you keep that in mind. Okay. Now,
Don, I do have one comment, especially for paper filers within the county.
Okay.
On the bottom of the cover page, and I can pull that up for you. Just give me 1 second. So one of these Form 700. So on the bottom of the cover page is where an individual would have to fill out the verification section with the mailing address. So since this is a public document, I just wanted to say, usually the address of the agency is much better than their personal address, because this will be something that could be made public for whoever that requests it.
Yeah, like Panik is saying, that's why again, electronic system is good to use for a person, because we're not going to for that part, we're not looking for their home addresses or their specific pay location of where they're an employee and assigned to. We're looking for the entity's mailing address. Okay, so I know I get a lot of questions that say, "Hey, this is not my address." Okay, I'm not on Figueroa, and it's like, no, but that's where the address of Health Services is as a main address. Okay, so keep in mind that what Panik just said too, that when a person is filing a paper copy, you want to tell them not to use their personal address, their home address, that they should be using the business address of the entity for which they're representing, being made to make disclosure for. Okay. All right. So now, audit. Okay. Okay. So audit. You have a responsibility to conduct the audit, and again, that was under on that regulation 18115. Okay. Okay. And filing officers officials have a duty to determine whether proper statements have been filed and whether they conform on their face with the Act's requirements. In determining if statements conform on their face with the Act's requirements, the filing officer must review information contained in at least 20% of statements which are filed on time, that's during the annual period, and at least half of which must be selected on a random basis. And the information contained in all statements which are filed late to determine whether, okay, whether there is anything missing. Okay, so again, you have a duty to complete an audit annually. Okay, and that, again, that's 20% of the filings that you're going to receive. Okay. Now, if a person uses the electronic system again, and I know you hear me keep saying to use electronic system, this helps you, okay? Because a lot of the stuff on the electronic system, okay, there's logic built into the system so that they don't miss boxes. They don't have stuff that's left out, okay? So when you're reviewing 20%, 20% can include some of the ones that are filed electronically, okay? And most of those should be filed okay. Okay, that you won't see anything that's wrong with them. But on the paper ones, okay, you will see where people have maybe made a mistake, and it's going to require you to have them complete an amendment, okay, to perfect their filing. Okay. Now, there's a big difference between, I think you might have heard over the years, for those that have been around for a while, what is facial review and what is full review. Okay, so let me briefly tell you what that is. Okay. Facial review of Form 700. A facial review is required for all statements maintained by the agency to ensure that the cover page is accurate. You need to look for the name and address of the filer, the period covered, the type of statement, and whether the summary that was completed includes all the schedules that are attached. And you're going to look for an original signature. That's what you do when you do a facial review. Now, when you do a full review of the form, okay, for statements maintained by the agency, a full review of the entire form is required on statements that do not pass their facial review. So something fails a facial review, you're going to start doing a full review. Okay, again, the 20% of all timely filed statements, so part of the audit ones, you're going to do a full review. Okay, and all statements that are filed late, you're going to do a full review. Okay, now what you want to do again for a full review, you're looking to see, hey, did they complete? If they did A1, did they list the whether it's a stock and stuff. Okay, you're gonna follow the instructions to make sure that people haven't left out anything. Okay. Okay. So, and again, when you do find something that that you might think is wrong, okay, you're not in there trying to do investigation. It's not, you're saying, hey, I know these people own property and they're not listing the property. Okay, there might be a reason why they're not listing the property. Maybe you think they own it, but they really don't, own it. And there could be a bunch of other stuff. You're not doing investigation. You're just reviewing the forms. Okay. And again, when you see an apparent violation, okay, apparent violations are like, okay, the gift limit is 520 right now. Okay, but they received a gift for $600. Okay, that's an apparent violation. It exceeded the limit. Okay. And there'll be stuff like that. That's the stuff that then you say, okay, now I have a duty to see if I need to do something with this because they exceeded the limit. Okay. All right. Any questions on these?
Yes. Yes. Done. Alex has one more question.
Okay.
Thank you. The question I had is, the commissioners under state law are required to file, but under our conflict of interest code, the independent legal counsel and the executive officer are required to file.
I'll be right there.
So I was wondering who retains the documents for each. I'm assuming you folks retain it for the commissioners, and we have to retain it for the executive officer and the independent legal counsel because it's under our conflict of interest code.
Okay. So let's pull up your agency code real quick. Okay. So we can get that. So we can see what's in there. Okay. So Panik, if you can get to the code. Okay. Okay. You represent who again? Or from where?
Citizens Redistricting Commission.
Okay, so let's open that one. Okay, so let's look at the positions of Panic. So let's look at who's in his code first. Okay, so let's go to the schedule B. Okay, so you have commissioners, you have executive director, you have an independent legal counsel, and then you have potentially consultants and new positions, right? Okay, now let's head back to the cover page. Okay, so in this, it's going to say that the commissioners and the executive director, okay, the originals come to the executive office. Okay, so my division are responsible, become the filing officer for your commissioners and your executive director. Okay, so everything that relates to them, we're housing, we're keeping. Okay. Now, the originals for all of the statements that are in your code, your independent legal counsel, and let's go back to it. That other position, you're going to maintain that one. Okay, but if they file electronically, you're maintaining it on you can be interpreted as maintaining it on our system already. So if they file electronically, okay, we are housing that and you can get access to that. Okay, so it's kept there. Now, if they file by paper, you're going to keep that independent legal counsel's form and you're going to keep it for the 7 years. Now, you're going to keep, again, say that Citizens Redistricting Commission reaches out to somebody that does an analysis investigation or something else where, again, they're going to have the power to make a recommendation that leads to a decision, governmental decision being made. You can require that person to make disclosure under consultants, okay? Now, that position, if they filed a form, you would be keeping as well, okay? Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
And the same goes for everyone else out there. That's how you're going to determine which ones you're keeping, which ones you have responsibility for. Okay. All right. So now if we could go on to the next slide. Okay. Now, Panik, if you can actually, I think Panik, right? You're gonna open up the e-roster system, right?
Sure.
Okay, so a couple things first before you log on, Panik. I want to show them something on this page first too. Okay, so now how to navigate the e-roster system. So if you can go back to the cover again, Panik. Okay, on the third column, okay, you will see again resources for you. Okay, again you see codes, you see department head certification form. Okay, now you also see roster guides. Okay, so you got a guide for the county and you got a guide for the outside agencies. Okay. If you're having problems navigating the system, that this is a resource guide designed to show you how to use the system. Okay. Pun, can you open that link now or?
Yeah.
Again, so here's another guide that was designed to help you with understanding how to, again, navigate the e-roster system. Okay. How you log on, what happens, what how you change your password. Okay, so if you stop there real quick, Pun, because I won't be able to get to changing the password. Okay, so when a new filing officer comes in and you're like, how do I get access? Okay, we're going to send you temporary credentials that are going to get you into the system. Okay, it's going to lead you here. Okay, same thing for your filers. When they first get into the system and they've never used it, okay, the first thing they're going to use is they're going to use their temporary credentials, and it's going to get them here where they're going to establish their own password. Okay, and then that's how they'll be able to access the system. Okay, then after that you'll get into being able to use the system itself. Okay, so let's get to now if you don't mind, let's log on and then we'll go through the prompts that are on there. Okay. Okay, so Panik's logged on now. Okay, and now what you see above, if you can show them their toolbar stuff, Panik, I was like, okay, so you don't have, Panik's an administrator, so he has a couple tools that you don't have. You don't have the first stuff that he's moving over from. Okay, yeah. The administrative part. Okay, you have a dashboard, agency contact, roster, post forms, e-filers, reports, documents. Okay, and you don't have the agency code PDF thing. Okay, but again, that roster guide will show you the ones you actually do have. Okay, if for some reason, you log in and you don't have dashboard, agency, roster, post, government, e-filers, reports, or documents, okay, tell us, okay? Because then we have the wrong profile for you, okay? Because depending on if you're county, family, or outside agencies, we give different profiles to different people, okay? So you should all, again, start with dashboard, okay? Now, the dashboard is your quick thing to see, again, let's go to citizens redistricting, Panik. So let's go there real quick. All right, so on here, you see select, again, select filing year, okay? And again, it would have a thing to go further back. Okay, this one's fairly new. So Panik, when you get to the year, you won't open that prompt, and he's not going to have. You're only going to have as long as you've been in existence. Okay, so some people will have earlier years, and you're only going to have a couple. Okay, now before Panik got there, he selected EO filers or filers. Remember, EO filers are those filers where we're the responsible filing officer. Filers is where you're the responsible one, okay? And then depending on that status, okay, and again, most people, I think in most of the commissioners, again, for citizen redistricting would be EO filers. So Panik, if you can go to EO filers. Okay, all right, now, EO filers, okay. So what you'll see on this dashboard is that, okay, assuming, leaving, and annual filings and where they're at, okay? So right now you see that, hey, you've done a great job, okay? All the assuming statements are completely received for 2021, okay? But there's no pending leaving office statements, okay? So this tells you it tells you how many have been received, how many are pending, who e-filed them, okay? Annuals, okay, annual period, okay. You didn't have an annual period because you guys just recently started, okay? But when the annuals roll over, you will see all those in pending, and you'll see how they move to being received and who's remaining. Now, how you use this tool to figure out what's going on? Okay, let's see. Let's switch over to assessor now, Panik. So let's see if we go to the assessor. Okay. All right. See, assessor has a ton of filers. You can see that they have over 576 filers that they need to collect for or be within their code. Okay. Now, okay, so you see this big number of, let's see. Okay, can you see that leaving office has 13 pending? Okay, so Panik, if you can point it to that. Okay, so you see 13 people are pending there, and you want to say, well, who are those 13 people? How do I get them to how do I know who they are so I can bug them and make sure they're filing? Okay, you're going to use the reports tab. So Panik, if you can go to the reports tab. Okay, now, okay, we're gonna go reports tab. Okay, it's gonna be set for you, assessor already. Okay, okay, you're gonna now say you want to see leaving, Panik. You're gonna put the type of statement that you want to track as leaving. Okay, it was regular filers, not EO filers, and you're gonna go to pending instead of received. Okay, and you're gonna run the report. Okay, and it's gonna tell you these are the names of the people and their employee numbers that are still pending to be collected. Okay. Now, again, if these people have left county service, okay, and it could be that they haven't left county service. Maybe they just got promoted to another position that doesn't require the disclosure any longer. Okay, so their email addresses might still be good for you to try to get them to file. But if they left county services, then you're going to need to work with your HR sections, determine what their forwarding address was, and send them at least 2 letters trying to collect their leaving office statements. Okay. All right. So again, this tool, reports tab, will help you figure out what's the dashboard stuff. Okay. Who's filed, who hasn't filed, who's missing. Okay. So that's what you navigate to determine that. Okay. So now let's go to agency contact. Agency contact. This is how we know who to contact and who is our liaison. Okay, within the departments or commissions. Okay. Okay. So this is the assessor's office is they selected Brian Cepeda to be the filing officer, filing official, and this is his phone number. Okay, the agency head is Jeffrey Prang. Okay, The code contact is someone different, Steven Hernandez. So for us, we need you to make sure you supply that to us so we know who we need to be talking to. Okay. Okay. Now, in order to change that information and stuff within there, you see some edit functions, okay, that will allow you to do that. But if somebody's brand new and that is not found so that you can change that, okay, then you want to reach out to us so we can help you, okay, and to perfect the information in there. Especially if you're, if you're going to be changing filing officers, we want, you're leaving and somebody else is going to be assigned to that. We're going to want you to send us an email so we can work with that person and get them credentials so they can log into the system, okay? Okay, now, remember I told you about on the form, it's going to give you the address of the agency. This is where that's pulling from, okay? So people that are in the assessor's office will see on their form the mailing address of 500 West Temple, room 350, LA 90012, okay? That will be the address that's found there. That the phone number is going to be that number too. It's not going to be their personal phone number, but they can change that. The phone numbers can be changed on the cover page of the form system. Okay. Now let's go to before we get to the real nuts and bolts. The nuts and bolts of this whole thing is that roster. Okay, but let's get to other stuff first. Okay. So post forms. Okay. Post forms. You're going to use this for posting hard copy filings. Okay, so somebody that is not an EO filer, but that is a regular filer, okay, says they don't want to use a system, that they want to file, by paper. When you get that paper, okay, you need to come into the system and post it because you're the keeper of that original. Okay, you're going to come in and you're going to say what kind of form it was, okay, when it was received, okay, and post it. Okay, if you say during the annual period, if you don't do that, this person is going to continuously get from us, hey, file your form, file your form, file your form. And it could be you already have their form. So we won't be able to post it because we're never going to see the original for your filers. Okay, you're going to see it. So that's why you need to go into the post forms and post yours. Okay. Okay. Don't worry about the ones electronically. Again, those are going to be automatically posted. Okay. All right. Panik, if we can now get to documents. Okay. Okay. So documents. Okay. Documents only show up here when you put documents there. Okay. So say you got that that person filed the form paper copy. Okay. You want to house it somewhere? Okay. You're going to house it here. Okay. You're going to find the person's name and you're going to bring on over that PDF copy of the form and place it here. Okay. Say that you sent them some correspondence, okay, for somebody leaving, and you want to keep everything neatly in one place where you can find them. Use the documents tab. We're not putting any documents there for you. This is meant for you to place your own documents there. Okay. Okay. And if you can, sometimes what happens is, okay, you will say, hey, I posted the form. Okay. But really, our interpretation after figuring out what that means is you've put the form there in documents, but you didn't post it so we can see that you posted it. They don't intersect in the sense that if you post the form, if you place a form under documents, okay, it's not going to show post it. You need to go to post it and then load the document and put it in the document library. Okay. All right. Now, the big one, okay, now to the roster. All right, so this is a roster, okay, and we can scroll through the whole thing, Panik, so you can see how much work assessor has. Okay, and again, assessor, you're doing a great job. You'll see that they're going to look at this whole thing, okay, okay, and this is just your current roster. So let's get to somebody that's now a little shorter. Let's go back to citizens redistricting real quick. Okay. Okay, that's a nice one. Okay. So Panik, okay, when Panik was in that other tab, filers, okay, let's go back to that. Okay. Okay. We're not seeing that you have any filers in your roster for that. So what this is telling me, okay, is that independent legal counsel, you don't have a person sitting on that position yet, Alex?
No, we do. We have the form in-house at the office.
Okay, so you need to, okay, you still need to go in there and tell us who that person is. Otherwise, he's not going to get in. So for your roster, okay, you need to update it and put that person in here, okay, so that when the annual period comes, he'll get an electronic reminder from us to file this form, okay?
Got
Okay,
it.
so that's where you should find that person. You should find people that are not our filers, that are your filers. They should be here, okay, under filers, okay? Now, when Ponic switches over to EO filers, you're going to see your commissioners, right? You're going to see your commissioners, you're going to see your executive director. And again, this is tracking it. The same thing should be happening for those that fall in the other spectrum. So really you're looking at two rosters in county departments. You're looking at EO filers and you're looking at filers, and you're perfecting both of those rosters. Okay. Now, so when a person gets to December 15th, you're looking at this roster, you're saying, hey, are these the people that are still here? Did anybody leave? Is anybody missing? Okay, and when you find that something has changed, then you're going to go to the tab that says Update Roster. Okay, Ponic, if you can go there. Okay, and this is, and then that guide will walk you through how to add a filer and how to edit a filer. Okay, this is where you're going to be putting in new filers and putting in leaving office dates, okay, through Update Roster, okay? Then once you've done that, what you'll see, Ponic, if you can go to View Pending Rosters, okay, you will end up seeing everything that's in queue waiting for us to approve it and perfect your roster, okay? So that's the big tab that you're working with, okay? Now, the other thing, okay, let's get back to the full view of view roster, Ponic. Okay. All right. So now you see a couple other things there. You see, again, you select EO filers, okay? And then you see department head certification form, okay? Okay. Let's see. I don't think that's loaded. Is it the old form still loaded if you click that, Ponic, or not?
Shouldn't be, because
Yeah.
this is
It's
based off of the annual.
Yeah.
Whoever's pending annual.
Okay. So right now
I can
that's
still
not.
click it.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you.
Yeah, it's probably not going to
Yeah.
work though.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So come back out of it. Yeah, I was thinking it's not going to work. That functionality is not there yet because we've already collected annual forms and already collected the department head certification form from people for last year. But when we get to the new year, okay, that's going to be there. Okay, and that's the document that we use for county departments and commissions. Okay, some commissions, and not all of them. Okay, you'll be told which ones. Okay, that have to submit a department head certification form. Yeah, and that's our verification that everybody is filing and you know who's missing. Okay, and that's this is how the form looked
Yeah,
for last.
citizens districting was way too new. They didn't even have one last year, but as long as they have one from previous years, it'll show up.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be pre-populated, showing you, okay, who hasn't filed their annual. Okay. And again, that's another tool for you to see, hey, these people are missing. Okay. Let's try to get them filed before April 1st. Okay. That's the duty of the filing officers, filing officials from the county departments and some commissions, that they have to have your department head sign a certification form acknowledging that who has filed their form or not filed their form by the April 1st deadline. Okay. Okay. Now the other button below that, okay, below department head certification form, is where you will okay your roster. So when we get to that January 14th date, okay, after we've done your changes between, you've given us the changes on December 15th, and we're working those, and again, we're working all those changes that are coming from 400 and some agencies, and the thousands of people that are in there. Okay, we're working all those changes. Okay, by the time you get to January 14th, you will have a period of time where you will go back and say, yeah, everything's good. You guys have fixed the roster. It's where it's supposed to be. Then you're going to hit OK for annual rollover. And what that will do is it will create, okay, for us after we approve it, okay, it's not going to show you anything when you do that, okay? It's just you're going to hit the button and you're going to submit it, and it's going to wipe away that process. For us, it's going to put something in the queue for us to roll you over. Roll you over means we create a new sequence in your roster. You now will find a 2022 year, okay, that shows the people that are going to be due for annual filings and show the people that, again, that leave during that period of time in 2022. Okay, so that's what the annual rollover process does. And again, that's going to happen, and your deadline for that's going to be January the 14th. Okay, and that's how you, and again, that's the process.
One more question. Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead. The question.
So for that, basically that button, that OK for annual rollover process, if there's no changes, can we submit it like before, like say today? Can we just click it and submit if there's going to be no changes to the filers, the EO filers or the regular filers?
I'm going to defer that question to Panik to see how if he's ready to start handling the annual rollover process yet.
So I'm pretty sure many commissions will have their commissioners stay on board all the way until December 31st. That would be something that you can submit for cases like that. But if you are a filing officer for a department, I would advise against it, because you never know what's going to happen from now until December 31st. And even though you can submit it, the option is there already. It's available. I won't be approving it until after that fact. So not until January 14th anyway. So yes, if you are pretty sure that no changes will occur from now on until then, and your roster is already up to date for the entire year of 2021, as in filers' email addresses are correct, their position titles are correct, and they haven't left office and don't need to have a leaving office date updated, then yes, I don't see why you shouldn't. You can submit it if you're ready. You're welcome.
So I think the big thing too, okay, a question that comes up when we're working the roster is, someone changes a position, okay, but they remain within the department. Okay, so somebody gets promoted. Okay. Sometimes people think that, okay, yeah, I'm leaving this position, and they have to file a leaving office statement because they're leaving that position. That's not true when somebody's leaving a position but assuming another position where the filing officer stays the same. Okay. When you do the roster system, when you operate on the roster system, you will just select the new position title. Okay, and that will now show that their new position is captured. It doesn't create a requirement that they file a leaving and an assuming. It's only when people change from a department to another department and they're changing filing officers, okay, or maybe a person is changing positions and they're getting a position again that's not in the code and doesn't require them to file a statement. Then yes, they complete a leaving office statement and they don't have any further requirements. Okay, even when disclosure categories change and it become broader. Okay, when they move to another position within the same department or entity where you're still the same filing officer, okay, they don't have that requirement. What they're going to keep in mind though is the period of time that when they make disclosure, okay, that their disclosure has increased from that period of time that they changed their position, okay, and the lesser disclosure applied before they changed position. Okay, I think Panik is kind of demonstrating you how that changes. Okay, so I guess that's a big thing that we see a lot of times where people think that that when they change position title, sometimes there's a requirement for leaving and assuming. Okay, there isn't one there unless, again, say that your chief deputy becomes your department head. Okay, well, that means you're changing filing officers. So there will be a requirement, but we will act on that because they become our filer. They become an EO filer when they become a department head. Okay. All right. Okay, Panik, I think any questions on the roster? And again, we're always going to be here to help you navigate through that. There's that resource guide that will show you how to work on that. If you have problems when you're trying to get to the December 15th deadline or the January 14th deadline, please reach out to us. We're here to help you. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next slide, Panik. Okay, so I'm gonna back again, Panik, one more time. Okay. What I want to do for you here is I'm gonna show you what a filer sees. Okay. So Panik, I'm going to request control. Okay. So do you all see my screen now that shows the portal to get to the Form 700 system, Panik?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when a person comes in and they get their credentials, again, they're going to come in and they're going to, if it's a county employee, they're going to put in their county employee number. They're going to create their password. Okay. Now, when you're trying to help somebody create a password, okay, again, for our system, it has to have a capital, it has to, an alpha character, it has to have some numeric character, it has to have a special symbol. Okay. So you always want to use something that's, that's going to do that. Again, I can't tell you my password, but try to use something that's, like maybe like something like simple, like D12345 exclamation point. Okay, that covers the numeric and that covers the alphabetical and that covers the special symbol. Now people will think, hey, let me use my one that I log onto my computer with every day. That's not the password that's set up here, unless they did that and did it themselves and they kept them similar. Okay, you're usually just going to use the system once a year, and the password they use is not going to be that one. Okay, so keep that in mind.
And that it doesn't reset, just like your ECAPS password would reset every 6 months.
Yeah, this one's going to stay that way without resetting. Okay. Now, so I went into my profile. Okay. Now, these are all the stuff that are pending for people that are taking actions, but you guys won't see that. Okay. What a person will see they will land here. Okay. So someone, and we created some profiles for me so I can show you this. Okay. So for me, last year I filed my annual. Okay. And the only thing I can do with my past annual now is file an amendment. So if I wanted to file an amendment to my 2021 annual, I would submit this and it would allow me to change what I filed or add something, supplement it, or something that maybe something I forgot. Okay. And if I want to see my past filings, or if you want to have someone see their past filings, they're all housed here. Look, I've been filing forever. Okay. My filings are there. And if I clicked here, I would be able to open that filing. Okay. So again, this is the record retention. They're being housed. Okay. Okay. Now, this is again back to took me out. Okay. All right. So now, okay. And again, this is a navigation bar to go between years. Okay. Now, here, okay, Panik's creating me a position we have within our code, but that is going to show you what a person gets when they get an assuming. Okay. So, okay, this is saying that it's an assuming. It's saying the assuming office date to put in the system. Now, this, okay, when a person says, hey, I don't know what I'm supposed to be disclosing. Okay. These little bars here, disclosure categories. Again, that goes back to that code we had. Okay, this shows what a person's disclosure is. So, yeah. So what we're kind of expanding a little bit better. Okay. So when a person is having to make disclosure, again, they need to be given the form and they need to be given what disclosure they're required to make. And again, that's what this is going to do. I'm going to click on it to show you what it's going to pull up. It's going to pull up the code. Okay. And again, if that's at category 6, this is going to tell me what my disclosure is for under category 6. Okay. Now, when I want to, okay, I guess the other thing you're seeing here too is saying it's giving them a message. Our records indicate you have a pending assuming office. Click on the start resume button to continue on this. Okay, it's saying start because I haven't ever been there before and saying start. Once I've been there before and did something with the form and I haven't finished it, this will change to resume. Okay, and then it's saying filers must file within 30 days assuming or leaving, or within 30 days the effective date of a newly adopted or amended code. Okay, so keep that in mind too. 30 days is the requirement for somebody filing assuming or leaving. You need to do it within 30 days. April 1st is a deadline for annual filers. Okay. Okay. And then you get into the cover page. Okay. And again, this is what they see. And again, this is all pre-populated already with the information you've given us. Okay. They can't change this. Okay. They can't change the position. They can't change what type of statement it is. What they can change is this. They can say nothing to file, or again, they can navigate to the different schedules, okay, and complete the schedules, okay, that are required of them. Okay. So I'm navigating through the top of that toolbar. Okay. When they're all done with that, they will get to the end. Okay. And this side would say, hey, this is actually telling me something's wrong. Okay, that I have nothing to report in any of these schedules, and I haven't said I have nothing to report. Okay, so that means that if I hit nothing to report after reviewing all those schedules, okay, when I get here, that message is gone because now it's saying, okay, I have nothing to report. Okay, the logic is saying that's been fixed. Okay, if I wanted to see what I filed or will be filing, okay, I'll review the draft. Okay, and it'll say that this is an assuming for the position of building manager and all the rest of that stuff that needs to be there. Okay. Now, okay, then you would hit, a person would hit continue with confirmation, okay, and then they'll get this acknowledgement and have to submit. Okay, I'm not going to do that because this is not a true filing, and I don't want to file something that's not true. Okay, so but that's what a person would be doing. Okay. Let's get back to, log back out. Any questions on what a person sees when they navigate the Form 700 system?
I don't see any hands raised. Huh?
Okay, then I'm going to stop sharing, Panik, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so now bring up the slides again. Okay. Okay, so then there's other forms that besides the Form 700 that a filing officer should be aware of, or filing official. Okay, there's a Form 801, which is payment to an agency. Okay, now that form is used when say that somebody gives a gift to something that benefits the agency. Okay, that they supply, say they supply travel. Okay, say that somebody is going to build something and a vendor says, hey, I built this in Colorado. You guys can, I'll fly you there so you can see it. Okay. Okay. Well, that's benefiting the agency because it's reviewing part of the bid specs and stuff like that. Okay. That isn't a gift to the individual because it's benefiting the agency. Okay. That would go on the 801. Okay. And I briefly gave you a thing, but if you wanted to read more about the intricacies of when this is used, okay. There's some stuff that a person receives because they're a member of the agency and it's benefiting the agency. Okay, it doesn't is something that by filling out this form, it becomes not reportable in their Form 700. Okay, so Panik, we can get it. Okay, 802. Okay. The 802 form. Okay, so tickets account. People receive tickets to the Hollywood Bowl or the Music Center, at something at the Amundsen or something. Okay. Now the county has a ticket policy. Okay, and when certain tickets follow through the ticket policy itself, when a person receives those tickets and they've come through the ticket policy, okay, those tickets have no value, so the person doesn't have to report those tickets as well on their schedules because they've they have a public purpose, and the 802 form has been filled out. Okay. Okay. Honey can come out of there. Now, I don't know that now the ticket policy to find tickets that completed 802 forms. Okay. You would go to the CAO's website, and CAO has a place where those are housed. Okay. Now, the 804. Okay. The 804 again is how you get to capture positions that are not in your code. Okay. So again, you have a position that that's not in your code, or you hired a consultant that's going to that rises to a level of having to be captured. Okay. You need to fill this out first. Okay. Okay. This gives you the authority to make that person make disclosure. Okay. So you fill this out, you house this form. Okay. Then you give that person, a Form 700 to fill out, and you tell them what level of disclosure they're going to make. Okay. Now, 804 form filers cannot use the electronic system to file. They have to file by paper. Okay, because they're not captured in the code. Now, if this is going to be a continuous position that will stay ongoing forever within the department, then when it comes time to amend your code, you want to send us that position so that we can convert them from an 804 filer to a designated code filer, and we can capture them on the roster. Okay, so that's what 804 is used for. Okay. Now, if we can come out of that. Okay, so this again is on your left side. Okay, hopefully when each of you became a filing officer, we gave you the old handbook. Okay, that told you what your responsibilities were, and it was quite limited, and it at the time was designed to do both county and outside agencies. Again, water districts, school districts, charter schools, everybody was using the same handbook. Okay, on the right side, we're going to give you and pass to you within a couple days the new handbook. Okay, the new handbook is geared towards just county-related family. Okay, and everything we went over in this presentation, hopefully, is in that handbook, so you can review. Okay. Okay. Now with that, planning, the next slide. Okay. So now, any questions that weren't asked during the other parts that you want to ask now?
Miriam has a question about the 801 and 802. Do educational institutions apply? Travel to conferences, things like that. Filling it out on the 802 or 801 and 802.
So that's probably a better question to ask when I can ask some more details of Miriam about it. Travel. Remember, when we get to travel and stuff, it's a little more complex. Funny. So maybe I can handle Miriam's question after the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, when you get to travel again, or for everyone's listening, again, it's a whole thing, okay? Or maybe it goes on the 801 form, maybe it doesn't. It's good, there's a bunch of questions that need to be asked to figure out what applies and what doesn't apply. Okay. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any. Okay, and again, so the next thing that you're going to get from us again, or it's going to be a thank you with the list of 5 questions that we've covered during this presentation. And again, if you wish to complete it and submit it back to us as an incentive, we're going to send you off, if you're one of the lucky ones, a gift card to Starbucks. And again, I want to thank all of you for being filing officers, filing officials, and working with us on this process. I know you probably have a lot of other things you do as well, and you try to fit this into your schedule. We appreciate that. Okay, it helps us, and again, we're here to help you. Okay, it's an integral part of making sure that that the county is doing the right thing, that the county is holding people accountable, that people understand that they hold positions of trust, and this is a way of maintaining that trust with the public. Okay, and amongst ourselves. So I appreciate all the work you do. It doesn't go unnoticed, and if we sometimes seem like please do this, please do that. We're only trying to make sure that we're making it easier for the person who's ultimately going to file. Okay. Tonic, Nancy, did you want to add anything?
Nothing to add. That would be all.
Nancy?
I just kind of wanted to ask, if I call your department or commission, can you just tell me if somebody just say yes if you're here? Just say for child support services. Is anybody here from child support services? No, Commission on HIV.